through storms, unshaken, unbowed. Through trials and verdicts, still standing proud. A titan in the tempest, against the raging crowd. He's got a vision for the future, gonna shout it loud. Change in the wind, it's coming fast. A new foundation built to last. Cryptocurrency's the key, make the big switch. Power to the people, time to teach the rich. Legal battles can't hold him, he's moving on. With plans so bold, from dusk till dawn. He's rewriting the rules, a new dawn's day. From the hands of the few to the people's way. Say goodbye to all chains, embrace.
Welcome, everyone, to the Crazy Cryptonaut channel. I am Zester, and thank you guys so much for joining me for our first stream of 2026. We got an exciting year to look forward to, at least on the crypto side, and probably an exciting year all around. The world has definitely not given us any breaks on the news side, and I don't think 2026 is going to be any different. But today, we're not going to be going through and trying to predict what's going to happen in the Middle East or anything of that nature. We're just going to try and have a few educated guesses at what's going to occur in the crypto markets for 2026. Some things that might be a little optimistic, some things that I'm pretty much 100% certain are going to happen in the year. And I'm also very excited to hear from the community. What are y'all's predictions for 2026? Crypto, definitely, but heck, I'd be excited to hear y'all's predictions about just about anything. And so we're going to have fun with it today. This will be a stream, pretty casual stream in terms of going through it, but it's going to be one to look back on later in the year and see, well, how much of it came true, how much of it didn't, what things were we right about, what things were we wrong about. And so I'm going to start saying good mornings and all of that before we go ahead and we start jumping in to some of the Zester's best guesses for the year. Happy Friday and Happy New Year, Miss Trish. Happy New Year, Kukla. I hope y'all had an awesome one. Good morning, Jeannie. Good morning, Crazy Chester. Good morning, Mary Jones. Good morning, Musical Lady, who came in number 3 on the like button this morning. Thank you so much, Musical Lady. Good morning, Franco. Yes, an important one. Please do, guys, keep this one in mind, I guess especially today, that the content in this podcast is for educational and entertainment purposes, not intended to provide financial advice. Please consult with a financial professional before making investment decisions, especially with a stream like today. There are going to be some of my predictions thrown out. I also have predictions that I have found from, the likes of Forbes and Bloomberg and BlackRock. Please keep in mind, they are all predictions. If I knew every single one of these and the day they were going to occur, I would end the year of 2026 not just a multimillionaire, probably a multi-billionaire, but I don't. And neither does Forbes, and neither does BlackRock, neither do any of them. So please do keep that in mind as we are going to be very, very speculative today. Good morning, Pamela. Morning. Musical Lady Crypto. Musical Lady's prediction for 2026. Crypto will take off like a rocket, just like silver is doing right now. Actually, I think, Musical Lady, that silver skyrocketing right now is actually absolutely connected to what crypto is going to be doing in 2026. It is very much laying the ground floor, and I believe very strongly that a lot of the dollars coming into precious metals are because of people who know that this technology is about to be implemented in the precious metals market. I do think that there is a correlation. The squeeze the problem of paper silver and paper gold, that is its own problem. That is not crypto, that's not crypto's doing. That was already happening. Blockchain technology provides the solution for the paper and gold problem, but it didn't cause it. So it's definitely right now we are seeing very much a squeeze on silver and on gold. And in 2026, we're going to see a huge addition to the fundamentals of precious metals. And we're going to talk about that one for certain today, because I absolutely agree with you, musical lady. I think some cryptos are going to rocket. And in particular, the fact that silver and gold is doing it right now, I do believe that it is strongly correlated. Oh, Kukla. Oh, Zester, you're wearing your Charlie Kirk shirt. Awesome. No, thank you so much for that one, Kukla. And it seemed like the right day for the first one of 2026. I feel like it's something we need to remember. We need to be his voice. And I think that is going to be an important part of 2026, because we're going to have a lot of important things happening that if we're not paying attention to, if we're not holding people accountable for, well, eventually the bill's going to come due for it. Good morning, Cindy Lou Who. Good morning, Cindy Lou Who. Seeing your name just made me think back to the Grinch, and I watched that one over the holiday season. My favorite of the Grinches was definitely, I guess it was like the 2001 Grinch with Cindy Lou Who. And Micah, lots of green on my crypto today. Finally, gotta enjoy those days. But all right, guys, let's go ahead and start getting into it. I've got a bunch of, I don't know if I would call them predictions. Some of them are going to be trends. Y'all will see. Let's just go ahead and jump into it. I don't have these in any type of order of like 1 to 10 being the one that I think is going to be the most likely, things of that nature. I don't have them structured that way. I just have a bunch of things that I think are going to happen. And then I have my confidence over whether I think they are going to be highly likely, or it depends on other factors. And so let's jump right into it on that one, guys. And first things first, let's just see where the year has started. On the 2nd of 2026, we have got Bitcoin back over 90,000. We've got Ethereum back over 3,000. We've got XRP up 2.3% in the past hour, headed to back over $2. Solana, same trajectory, up 2.1%, $131 currently. The market seems to be jumping at this point and time. And well, there are a few things that are very, very exciting. And so let's jump in to the first prediction. Not a really hard prediction to throw out there, but it is around the Clarity Act. And so this is probably going to be one of the first major events of 2026. This one is going to be huge for certain cryptocurrencies, in particular, Ethereum and Solana, in particular, seem to be the ones that have the most on the line here. That does not exclude XRP or Bitcoin. There's still a lot of big wins here. But Ethereum and Solana are probably the most excited about the Digital Asset Clarity Act because they have the most utility tokens built upon them. They have the most potential to gain here with their smart contract technology. And so this one is going to be very, very, very big. The Clarity Act is one that we were talking about in 2025. The House actually passed the Clarity Act back in July of 2025. And the Senate discussed it a while and failed to move the legislation forward. Most expectations were that the Clarity Act would have already been on Trump's desk by the end of 2025. It is not. And a lot of the market stress we have seen has been on account of the fact that this has not come to fruition. It seems to have bipartisan support at this point in time in the Senate. And so, first quarter of 2026, the sooner the better on this one. It is possible for this to be on Trump's desk by the end of January. It is possible. I think in a conservative sense, we can rest fairly at ease that the Clarity Act is going to be law by the end of the first quarter. And with that, we are going to see a very, very, very substantial boom for certain cryptocurrencies. The reason for this, guys, for those that have not heard a lot about the Clarity Act, is that it sets out the framework. It lays out which regulatory bodies control different parts of the blockchain market. It sets forth what is considered a security versus a commodity. It's going to finally allow for innovation. It's going to allow for a lot of companies and a lot of projects to leave the gray shadows and enter into the mainstream. And the reason that they've been stuck there for so long has been because of a lack of clarity. And thus the title, thus the importance. This is a very, very important step in the process towards the Bitcoin Act and towards the United States taking a leading role in blockchain technology. And so this one is one that we have to look forward to in the first quarter. We really, really, really need for the Clarity Act to progress forward fairly quickly. Ultimately, the lack of certainty is in many ways holding back the entire market. Folks are scared, especially a lot of the folks with a lot of money inside of these markets. They're scared. We talked about that earlier in the week, where we can see the outflows from these ETFs that has been caused by the delay in this bill. And that's what the vast majority of those investors are saying is the reason. They are pulling out their dollars because they're starting to get scared that the Senate is not going to pass the Clarity Act in any type of timely manner. And so, Clarity Act, definitely one of those very important ones for the beginning of 2026. We need to see it progressing forward. Is it a perfect bill? No. There are still many, many, many other things that will need to be covered. Further legislation will be necessary. It is not some kind of end all be all. We're done here. Everybody gets to watch their cryptos explode into the stratosphere and everybody retires. It's not going to happen, but it is a very, very important step, and we cannot proceed towards some of the even juicier and more exciting bits of legislation until we get this one out of the way. And so, first of the predictions for the year is a pretty darn easy one that we're going to be hearing about the Clarity Act a whole lot for this first quarter until it passes. If the Clarity Act does not pass in the first quarter, guys, I don't even want to really imagine what certain cryptocurrencies prices are going to look at. This act being heavily delayed could absolutely cause for a massive stagnation of the cryptocurrency markets. I don't think that's going to happen, though, in the slightest. I'm with you, musical lady. Prayers for the Clarity Act passing in January. I strongly believe that the Clarity Act will have passed by the end of the first quarter. February probably being the safest bet, but fingers crossed, we get to see it by the end of January. That is where you're going to see a bit of a break. Even just the announcement that it is likely to pass is going to cause a massive boom in the prices of Ethereum and Solana. I would go so far as to say that upon the passing of the Clarity Act, I kind of expect Solana to hit a new all-time high. And now Solana's all-time high is $293 that it hit on January 19th of 2025. And so, in all honesty, I would not be surprised. The Clarity Act is so big for the likes of Solana and Ethereum, we could easily see an all-time high be broken solely on it coming into effect. And I would go so far as to say the same for Ethereum, that Ethereum could very, very likely surpass its all-time high of right under 5,000 and finally break the $5,000 level. That seems like a fairly bold statement when you consider the prices right now, but in my mind, it would absolutely make sense. The Clarity Act fundamentally changes the value proposition of Ethereum and Solana because of the way that they work. They are token-based. They have projects built on them. XRP right now at this point is XRP, RLUSD. That's it. There are no small companies building projects on the XRP ledger. There are companies that have partnered with them. They're working on things. It could happen, yada, yada, yada. Ethereum and Solana, I can just have the idea. And I can say, I have an idea for a new type of smart contract, a new type of cryptocurrency that I think is going to change the world. I don't ask permission. I don't do anything. I build it and I launch it and it exists. They're different. And so Solana and Ethereum are the ones that I would think that the Clarity Act has a really, really high likelihood of actually pushing them past their all-time highs of the past. That does not mean that we could not see XRP also break its all-time high on passing of the Clarity Act, but you're going to see the most hype, at least in the news, the most hype at first because of the passing is going to be Ethereum and Solana. All right, on to our next one, and this one's probably going to sound a little boring, but it's one that you're going to start hearing more and more about, and one that I've talked about some in the past. You're going to start hearing about yield coins, yield-bearing assets. And so, tokenization isn't just for stablecoins. Ian DeBode, Chief Strategy Officer at Ondo Finance, coined the term yield coins to describe tokenized treasury funds that pay daily yield. And so, DeBode explained that while stablecoins tokenize cash, that's not what I wanted to click on, for global 24/7 access, they typically don't pay out interest and have uneven investor protections. Yield coins address that gap by combining safety with automatic yield distribution. And so, what I'm really focusing on here, the things that are going to be increasing massively are going to be tokenized treasuries, tokenized treasury funds. We've seen this with United States treasuries already being tokenized on the Ripple, on the XRP ledger. There are tokenized US treasuries over on Ethereum. And we're going to see a massive, massive growth in this tokenized treasury market and the utilization of yield coins, essentially, which will allow for people to start earning interests off of investments that they previously could not have in the past. This is all going to tie in with general tokenization, but in this case, specifically the idea of tokenized treasuries, tokenized US treasuries. We've already gotten the clear indications throughout 2025 that it's happening. 2026 is going to be the year where we start to see some pretty massive numbers, massive amounts of capital that are locked up in the form of these yield coins and these US treasuries that are tokenized. Now, this is I'm not referencing here specifically the tokenization of other real world assets. Those are also going to be on the rise. We're going to talk about those separately. This is more of tokenized securities. These are a little bit different in that sense. And 2026 is going to be the year where you start to hear one heck of a lot about them because they're already being offered and they've already been growing massively, just not for the rest of us. And so USDY has actually been minting OSUG tokens 24/7 as a representation of US treasuries. This fund has already been participating in this, but it's only been available to accredited investors. It has continued to see very, very, very substantial inflows, but we really haven't gotten an opportunity to see how effective it's been. We're going to start seeing this come into the mainstream and no longer just be a possibility for accredited investors, which is always exciting. But moving on to the big one in the form of tokenization, the one that we've talked about a lot, overall real world assets. I believe, and I am not alone on this one, are going to go from experiment to a core financial infrastructure in the year of 2026. Predictions for the overall market capitalization of real world assets ranges anywhere from 2 trillion to 10 plus trillion by the year 2030, depending on who you ask. And I'm talking about BlackRock, Franklin Templeton, JP Morgan, the biggest financial institutions on the planet, are investing massively in real world asset tokenization. This market is going to explode. And which one in particular I think is going to really take over the headlines? It's going to be the tokenization of gold and silver and platinum and all the other precious metals because of what's currently going on. We have seen in 2025 the absolute breakout of silver and gold. I strongly believe that these things are connected. Blockchain technology is going to finally allow for the true guaranteed removal of paper silver and paper gold from the markets. This is something that has been decades in the making, a bubble that has been inflated to massive levels. But it is going to be not the paper silver people that are the most excited about this. It's really going to, I think, surprise many folks. It's going to be the gold bugs and the silver bugs that are going to be the most excited about this change once they begin to realize what it means and what it entails. We're going to see in 2026 the move away from precious metals being a storage of wealth to becoming a generator of wealth. No longer are we going to see gold and silver essentially keeping up with inflationary rates. We're going to see gold and silver keeping up with inflationary rates, beating inflationary rates, and also being a leverageable asset, something that's capable of earning interest, something that's capable of providing collateral for loans, something that is liquid. And it's going to fundamentally change the value proposition of gold and silver. And 2026, I believe, is going to be the beginning of that process. It's already started, but it's not even come close to hitting terminal velocity. This thing is going to hit the global economy like a wrecking ball. You are going to massively see the world economy shift on account of this. And you're going to start seeing far more importance placed upon having a currency, a medium of trade that is backed by valuable things. And I'll use the term valuable things instead of saying, tangible real world value, because there's going to be so many different things. They're going to start being tokenized and used to back up the financial system, or going to be used in specific utilities. It's going to be 2026. And as I have pointed out a few times as a project, one in particular that I use it as an example, guys. I don't use it as one that I think there's, to get. I use it because it's the best way of being able to show you right now in real time on the 2nd of January, 2026, what you're going to see. Boom. What is the means of this new system? And it's going to be very similar to how Pax Gold operates. Pax Gold, and to just go ahead and place it into a context here, Pax Gold has seen a massive increase in its market capitalization over the past years. Pax Gold is pegged to an ounce of gold. One Pax Gold token is redeemable for 1 gold ounce from a bank in London. And so I believe you're going to see a large rise in offerings such as this. We've already seen throughout the year of 2025, Pax Gold and tokenized precious metals garner a lot more interest than they have in the past. But right now, folks are still just focused on the idea of physical gold and silver. And it makes sense because people are worried about the paper gold and silver. And I think that 2026 is going to be the turning point where folks are going to stop saying, I need physical gold and silver because of paper gold and silver being a worry. And folks are going to start saying, I need physical gold and silver so that I can tokenize it. And the reason that I need physical gold and silver is because I want to be able to utilize a digital representation of that gold and silver. I want to be able to earn interest. I want to be able to be liquid. I want to be able to participate in a modern economy But I also do not trust that the global economies, that the U.S. government, and that our central banks have our best interests at heart. It's going to enter into where it gets to be both at the same time, and the value proposition is just going to change on precious metals. This is absolutely a personal prediction. When it comes down to the time frame, I would say I have 100% faith that this is going to happen. You're going to see precious metals massively change in how they operate. I believe that 2026 is going to be the year. And I think you're going to see it happen very, very fast. And I think that we have been able, with the events of 2025, to really take this from being one of those "it might happen" type predictions to one of those "it's going to happen." It's just, to what degree does it happen? I personally would expect for the amount of value in tokenized precious metals to have at least a 10 to 20x in the year of 2026. And so, to place that in just the context of something like Pax Gold sitting at a $1.6 billion market cap, I easily expect the likes of Pax Gold to be looking at tens of billions of dollars, if not hundreds of billions of dollars, in the very, very near future in the form of tokenized precious metals. All right. Pamela Flasted, Zester. So will we be able to tokenize our physical precious metals we have in our custody? Absolutely, Pamela. I believe that 2026 is going to be the year. Right now, Pamela, large investors can. And so large investors can go to companies like Pax Gold and they can say, hey, I have $10 million of gold. I will put it inside of your treasuries, allow you to expand the amount of gold in Pax Gold treasuries, but I expect this, this, and this. Essentially, they are investing at this point in time. I expect for 2026 to be the year, Pamela, where it becomes something all of us can participate in from the physical standpoint. Right now, Pamela, you technically can go to them and buy an ounce of gold. You can go onto any exchange that offers Pax Gold, and you can buy a whole Pax Gold token. You have effectively bought one tokenized gold ounce. What I believe is going to change in 2026, Pamela, is that these companies, instead of saying, hey, we want to sell you one, they're going to say, hey, give us one and we'll tokenize it for you. Give us a gold coin, we'll tokenize it for you. You're also going to start seeing companies like a Miles Franklin. I don't know if Miles Franklin's going to do this or not, but I know that companies will start doing this in 2026. And so what they're going to do is you're going to go to purchase silver on APMEX or Miles Franklin or whatever. And let me just run you through this, because this is going to be weird for folks. You're going to go onto a precious metals website, and it's going to offer all the typical offers it would, your bullion, silver, your your numismatics, and all those things, in 1 ounces and 10 ounces and everything else. And you're going to go through and you're going to pick what you want. And this is something that's going to start happening. And when it does, and when someone out there sees it for the first time, come running back and let me know. But what you're going to see is when you go to checkout, you're going to get an option. And they're going to start giving you an option when you go to buy precious metals. And they're going to say, okay, well, and I'm going to use made up numbers here. Well, if you pay the premium, and so $2 more than the spot price of the cryptocurrency, we're going to send you the physical silver. Okay, you're going to physically have it. You're going to pay a premium to physically hold the silver. It's going to be in your gun safe the way that you typically do right now. When you buy gold and silver, you don't pay spot price, you pay above it. When you sell gold and silver, you don't sell for spot price, you sell below it. And so you're going to go through that checkout, and then they're going to say, would you like your gold and silver tokenized? And if you choose the tokenized option, it won't be a premium. It'll just be the spot price. Maybe a couple pennies as a fee for them providing the service of tokenizing it, something like that. But you're going to have the option to go to APMEX and they're going to say, well, you bought 20 ounces of gold or 20 ounces of silver. Would you like that tokenized? And if it's tokenized, we're going to store it inside of, say, a Brinks vault, and we're going to issue you the tokens. And now, if at any point you want your physical silver, you're going to come back with those tokens to APMEX or whoever it is, and you're going to say, here are my tokens. I'd like my physical silver now, please. But you're not going to want to do that. You're not going to choose to do that because you're going to have paid spot price. You can sell that to someone else who wants a token at spot price. And so you're not going to want your physical silver back because your physical silver has problems. You're going to want that tokenized silver option because not only did you not pay any premiums, not only can you immediately sell it back, but I can now take that silver that's sitting in that vault and I can take that digital representation of that silver and I can start earning interest. I can start providing it as liquidity. I can start providing it as backing. I can start providing it in the form of loans. I'll be rewarded by certain exchanges for keeping it there because I am providing them with TVL, total value locked, providing them with locked liquidity. And so you're going to start seeing this. And I believe 2026, you're going to see the beginning of precious metal companies starting to make that move over. Some have already begun. Some already allow you to purchase with cryptocurrencies. And yes, for those asking on that one, like why here, why says, well, what's up, why, welcome. And where do you store the token? In your hardware wallet. Yes, you're going to be able to self-custodian your digital precious metals. You could keep them on your ledger. There will be other folks who will keep them on exchanges. There will be exchanges that will provide you with interest for it. In the same way that exchanges right now, like Coinbase, offers 4% for keeping USDC on the exchange. They're going to offer that. Gemini offers 4% for keeping RLUSD on the Gemini exchange. You're going to see things like that start to be offered, but for your gold and silver. And so think about the value proposition here. Now you're going to hold gold and silver. You're going to be earning 4% yearly paid off of it, and probably the crypto of your choice. And I'm just using example numbers here. These numbers could all be different. It could be higher, could be lower, but you're going to be earning interest off of. And so it is going to, and I know this seems crazy because we've all grown, we've all evolved in a world where the value and the purpose of precious metals is that they're tangible and I can hold them. But people are going to start wanting to not hold it. You're going to want that digital representation because it is a far, far better financial instrument. I can now be liquid. I can spend it. You'll be able to start keeping your paycheck in gold and silver. You get your paycheck, you immediately put it into a gold and silver stablecoin. Bam, you've locked in. Now you can take your paycheck, which is backed by gold and silver, and you can go buy things or invest in things. You can pay your rent, all while actually being backed by gold and silver. That is why it's so powerful. It fixes the problem. Precious metals are a problem. It doesn't work as a medium of trade in its physical form. But when tokenized and digitized, where we could break down a gold ounce to 1/1,000,000th of a gold ounce and buy a stick of chewing gum, now the entire thing has changed. Now gold and silver are the best medium of backing up an economy, whereas before they had problems. And essentially, the only way for gold and silver and precious metals to have worked in the past was for us to genuinely trust the one central bank in charge of making certain. There was only one. Now we're going to be capable of having that same security, of having precious metal backed forms of trade, mediums of exchange, without these centralization concerns. And so, let's see. I bet we've got a few questions over that one. But that is one of the things I'm the most excited about. Absolutely, one of the most exciting things for the year for me is going to be watching the evolution of the metals markets. And in all honesty, it's going to be the year of people needing to shift the idea of value. What is valuable? And how do we determine something is valuable? All right, Gary 7. My college major is estimating crowd sizes at different outdoor events. I wonder how many people are in that field. That's a good one, Gary. That's a good one. Chris Cape. Wow, that is epic. Chris Cape, it is so exciting because absolutely, I am a huge fan of gold and silver. And you can look throughout human history and you can go through the examples of gold and silver's utilization. And it's always had a critical flaw. And we're about to see the critical flaw is finally going to be removed. And so I'm very excited to see where the markets go. Gold is already a $30 trillion market cap. It's not going to not continue to rise. The difference is going to be, it's going to be a $30 trillion market cap, or 40 trillion, a 50 trillion, a $60 trillion market cap for gold. And the vast majority of that gold is going to be tokenized, and that liquidity is going to be moving around the world. That $30 trillion of gold liquidity doesn't do crap right now. It does not build things. It does not grow things. It does nothing for the economy. I know that it preserves your wealth, yes, but it grows, it builds, it provides nothing. Absolutely nothing. It's the biggest waste of capital on the planet, if you think about it from that perspective. From the perspective of benefiting the growth, it's zero. It's zero. And that is about to be turned on its head. Gold and silver, that $30 trillion of market cap, and that's just what they tell us. We know that's not right. We know the number's higher. But all of that market capitalization is about to be injected into the world's economy. It's about to be utilized. It's about to provide loans. It's about to provide backing. It's going to revolutionize the economy, and it should, in all rights, it should provide for essentially a golden age of the economy where there's more money, more liquidity, more capabilities for innovation and growth than there has been in a very, very long time, because that money has been stolen. It's been hidden from us. It's wealth and capital that is not doing anything. And that's about to change. All right. Rich Roper, 81 to 3 cryptos that will continue to grow. Well, that actually sounds like it kind of tails in to one of my next articles about which type of tokens and cryptos are going to succeed in the year of 2026. And so, Rich Roper, I'll tackle that question with this article, because 2026, as another prediction, is going to be the year of us beginning to view cryptocurrencies as businesses. We're going to stop viewing cryptocurrencies, and I haven't been doing this, but I'm talking about the mainstream. We're going to stop viewing cryptocurrencies as something other than businesses. And that means we're going to start focusing on cryptocurrencies that are profitable. Cryptocurrencies that have users, cryptocurrencies that provide solutions, and we're going to stop seeing the growth of cryptocurrency blockchains that are not doing anything. And there are a lot of them. And that's a lot of capital that is going to leave a lot of different smaller projects. There are projects in the top 100 that have never done anything, and in all likelihood are never going to do anything. And 2026 is going to be the year where we start seeing cryptos judged like companies. And so, Rich Roper, that's what your question made me think about this. The 1 to 3 cryptos, I'm actually going to take that and go to all the cryptos that are providing general utility, are actually building things, providing services. It's going to be their year. And so I think that you're still going to see meme coins. You're still going to see stupid projects, still going to happen, but you're going to see far less of them. There's far fewer people that are going to fall for it. And with the increase of institutional interest, they're going to start genuinely punishing people for making silly decisions with supporting projects like this. And so 2026, Rich Roper, I think, is going to be the year of projects like Chainlink. It's going to be the year of blockchains like Ethereum. It's going to be the year of utility, genuine utility. And in that regard, it's going to be the year that utility tokens take over. And they may not entirely. We're still going to see all kinds of other projects, don't get me wrong. But we're going to see far more of a focus on judging cryptocurrencies in the same way that we would judge a corporate balance sheet. It's coming together. We're entering into a phase where it's going to be more big boy. Everybody's going to have to start actually looking through the numbers and thinking about whether this cryptocurrency has a future, serves a purpose, or if it's just a cool name or a cute dog. I strongly believe 2026 is going to be that year. Don't worry, you're still going to get some stupid meme coin crazes, but I think in the grander picture, you're going to see a major push towards folks actually asking intelligent questions. Hey, what are you building? Hey, what's the size of that market? Hey, how many competitors are there? And you're going to stop seeing companies get away with saying, oh, well, we provide 10,000 transactions per second. We're awesome. Okay, you provide 10,000 transactions per second. How many transactions are you doing every second? Because you might be capable of 10,000, but if you've only got 10 guys who use your blockchain, it doesn't matter that you can do 10,000 transactions per second. You need to be adopted and used. You need to make money. And we're going to start seeing that rubber hit the road. And I think that's going to be very, very scary for a lot of holders of cryptocurrencies that have not ever done anything. I think some of those examples are some of the really, really old guys, the Litecoins, the Bitcoin Cashes, things like that. There's a lot of capital still sitting inside of those. I don't see a future for them in 2026 unless they start actually building things. And so, why XRP, XLM, HBAR? Why? I think that it's going to be a great, great year for the ones that are building. XRP is going to have their toes put over the fire, and it's going to say, okay, we need adoption. We don't just need to know that you're planning on doing it. We need to see it. And XRP is in a very, very strong position in this regard. Why? XLM and HBAR, I am more afraid of. XLM in particular. XLM is going to be out of time. 2026 is the last opportunity. Stellar is going to have to provide us with actual utility and actual services in the year of 2026, or I believe that 2026 will be XLM's last year. And I've talked about this one before. I'm a big Stellar fan, but Stellar does not do anything. They have not innovated. They have not brought in people. They are not making partnerships. It's just not happening. And so in that regard, why I do think it's going to be the make or break year for projects like Stellar. XRP, I think that we've already got from 2025, we've got a clear indication that XRP is on the right path. Things could still show up that mess up that journey, but ultimately XRP is heading in the right direction. XLM right now, I'm personally not happy with the Stellar Foundation and what they've provided up to this point. I have not sold my XLM on account of it, but 2026 will be the year. In 2026, we need to see companies like XRP and XLM and HBAR coming out and telling us that they're making money. They need to be profitable. And if they cannot come out and tell us that they're profitable, that's going to be a very, very bad sign because we're out of time. We're not going to continue viewing projects that are not profitable as, oh, well, they're building the future. They've had 10 years. You've either built the future or you've got me some answers. One of the two. Rubber is going to meet the road in 2026 from a business standpoint. And that means that when you go through the list and you come to something like CoinGecko, I have got a feeling that this list is going to be very, very different come the end of 2026 because you are going to see the removal of the ones that don't do anything. You're going to see them disappear. And that means that projects like Aave, they're going to do very well. Aave is a lending protocol. Aave provides services. Aave has built unique technology that only they have. People want to partner with Aave. Major banks want support from Aave. That is going to be something that is going to get more respect, in my opinion, in the year of 2026. Polkadot has not provided anything. They've got a $3.3 billion market cap. Polkadot had a huge hype way in the past. They were going to provide all these crazy side chains, and it was going to be so cool. Look at this. It was worth crazy amounts of dollars. Back here, $52 per Polkadot, currently sitting at $2. Projects like Polkadot that haven't done anything, that aren't actually planning on getting back out of there, I expect to see these guys go the way of the dodo in the year of 2026. That or they'll still exist, but there'll be 5 guys hanging out in a Discord room, talking about their favorite video games inside of the Polkadot community room. That is what I mean on that front. All right. Franco, yep, I just bought some RLUSD on Uphold with a 3% return every month, better than my bank. Absolutely. Franco, I will let you know, Gemini's offering 4% for RLUSD. At least it was the last time that I checked. And that is paid with absolutely zero risk being associated with it. They're not lending it. They're not loaning it. They're not doing anything with it. They're just giving you 3% returns. Oh, is that 3% every month or is that 3% APR, Franco? If they're offering 3% every month, then I need to get some RLUSD over to Uphold. I would. Why? I wondered how we were going to raise loans for our metals. This makes total sense. Thank you. No, absolutely. My pleasure. Why? And yes, it's going to be so much more logical how loaning and lending works on the blockchain. It's going to be so much cleaner in the process. And yes, collateral and the idea of collateral, the idea of backing things up and backing up loans, that is something that never should have gone to the way of being unpopular. We got into an entire system of monetary lending that is literally based on absolutely nothing. Essentially, we went ahead and enacted the first version of the social credit score. That is what your credit score is. It is a social credit score. Yes, it is said to be financial, but it actually really isn't. If you really think about it, your overall credit is not actually dictated entirely because of that. In all honesty, it's a social credit score. And when the social credit score came into effect, we started giving loans based off of social credit, not off of economic or financial credit. What we essentially said was, you've been a good boy, and so we think you can be trusted with money. And so they print money that doesn't exist. And they have to do that because they're essentially giving out money for no real reason. And so in my mind, we are going to see a far better lending system. It is going to have, there still are other things that need to be figured out. because as of right now, the way that crypto lending works, it is highly, highly collateral based, and that is a great thing. But it's going to need caveats. There's going to need to be more options, and that's where we definitely need further legislation to set out the framework for how lending is going to look. Lending needs its own entire framework rebuilt because of this technology. It's changed what's possible. Franco, I'd love to see utility tokens stand alone. Hey, that's I'm very glad that you said that one. Let me go back through all of my little articles up here, because I have got one specifically about that. I have indeed. Or, well, I've got it somewhere. Got it somewhere in one of these tabs. And so, yes, I do absolutely believe that. I think we're going to see that break, Franco, and we've already been seeing it. But we're going to see utility tokens break away from Bitcoin. Absolutely so. We're going to start seeing a breakaway where the utility tokens get to start standing on their own two legs, and their market gets to be separated from the overall Bitcoin market. It's still going to be correlated to a degree in 2026. I still think that if Bitcoin's doing well, it's going to be a pretty safe bet to assume that the rest of the market is doing pretty well. And in the same regard, if Bitcoin is doing poorly, still going to be fairly correlated that the rest of the market's not going to be doing well either. But it's going to start separating. It needs to separate. And really what I think is going to separate it more than anything is going to be education. People understanding that, no, Chainlink does this, and Ethereum does this, and Bitcoin does this, and XRP does this. What I should be looking at is the thing that they do. Are they doing it well? Is it a growing market? Are they making money? And I think that is where you're going to start seeing more and more focus. Franco, $1.99 and moving on XRP. Yep. It seems like we may get our $2 this morning over on XRP. It will be nice to be back above it. All right. All right. And another one we've already talked about, but you are going to continue to see crypto custody be a major conversation in 2026. Citibank targets a 2026 launch for crypto custody service as Wall Street dives deeper into digital assets. 2026 is going to be the year where we really do start to draw the lines between those who understand the importance of self-custody and those that don't. And so 2026, I'm going to be out here pushing it. I'm going to be trying to convince people to not fall into these custodian programs and to self-custody their crypto. But it's going to be the year where you're going to have services provided like this, like from Citibank, where Wells Fargo is going to say, hey, we'd love to hold on to your crypto for you. Don't worry about figuring out how all those pesky wallets work. Just call me. I'm Jim. I work at Wells Fargo. Whenever you want to do something in crypto, call Jim. You're going to see that. And so you're going to see that breakdown occur over essentially those that want to have a bank or a financial institution custodian their crypto, and those that want to go the Zester type route, the libertarian route, and say, no, I am the only one who holds my crypto. 2026 is going to be the year. You're going to get to choose. And so for many of those out there that are in that situation where you're scared to be a self-custodian of your crypto, I think this is your year to really be able to kind of start making that decision. You're going to get the choice. Do you want to learn how crypto works? Do you want to learn how to hold it all? Or are you perfectly happy with trusting Wells Fargo to be in charge of your crypto wallet? 2026 is going to be the year for it. You're going to finally get a real option to essentially hire a custodian service. And they may charge you money, They may be making money off of having your crypto locked inside of their service. They're going to provide things like staking returns, like you see on Coinbase right now or on Gemini, where you're able to keep your Monad or your Ethereum or your Solana, and you're able to just passively earn a return for providing to the proof of stake network. You're going to see more and more things like that being offered, where they're going to say, hey, let me hold on to it. I'll make you money. I'll make you a passive income. And what they're going to be doing is they're going to be taking a cut. You're going to be losing a cut of your returns because they're going to be the ones who are responsible for managing it. And it's going to be far safer to trust them to manage it because there's going to be a legal framework established in 2026. But still, it's antithetical to the ideology of Bitcoin and these digital currencies to really to fall into this trap. The idea is that we finally have been given the ability to self-custodian. We've finally been given the ability to own our own data, to own our own financial futures. And so this is going to be a very important year on that from that standpoint. And this is going to very much be a spiritual debate, an ideological war. And I very much hope that the year of 2026 is the year where people take up the banner of self-custodianship and of owning their own data, of owning themselves. And so I strongly hope that that is the case. I do believe this is the year where essentially we're going to figure out where the lines in the sand are drawn in this entire spiritual endeavor. And so, fingers crossed, 2026 is the year of people taking over ownership of their data and ownership of their financial future. But it's going to be the year where you are given the option not to. It's going to be a very interesting one, in my opinion. I am not going to make any overall prediction on which way I think it will go, because I don't think it's going to go in the right direction. And so I'd rather look at it optimistically and pessimistically. Optimistically, 2026 is going to be the year of self-custodianship. Pessimistically, 2026 is going to be the year that the majority of investors or a large portion of investors decide that they are happy with giving up that ownership and that they're happier essentially remaining less responsible for their financial future. And so don't know what y'all's thoughts are on that one. That one is very much a pessimistic versus optimistic. That's a Thomas Hobbes versus a John Locke. You know, Thomas Hobbes would absolutely, and placed in a context like that, would say that people are naturally nasty and brutish and are most likely going to lean towards the easiest option, the laziest option. We will just have to see on that one. But that's going to be an important one for the year. All right. Crypto and artificial intelligence. You're not going to be able to get away from them. 2026 is going to be the year of crypto and AI remaining heavily interconnected as we continue to see these new technologies become adopted in more and more markets across the space, essentially. AI is growing at such an insane rate. Cryptocurrency and blockchain technology is growing at such an insane rate. And these two technologies really complement each other. And so 2026, you're going to hear more and more about AI interconnected blockchains. You're going to hear about AI agents that operate on blockchains. You're going to hear about AI operated smart contracts. You're going to hear about AI traders and AI portfolio managers. You're going to start seeing artificial intelligence tied into the blockchain. This can come in the form, many different forms. This could be trading bots. This could be a AI validator on loans. This could be an AI system designed at attempting to break in to different blockchains or find exploits. You're going to see this interconnectedness of artificial intelligence and cryptocurrency and blockchain technology. I'll go ahead and say on this one, I don't know whether that's naturally a good thing or not. Ultimately, because of the way that blockchains work, they are a hard and fast written language. And so, like Ethereum, it's written in Solidity. Solidity is a coding language. And so anything built on an EVM, Ethereum virtual machine, blockchain like Ethereum or Binance Smart Chain, they're written in a coding language of Solidity. These artificial intelligences are language models at this point in time. ChatGPT is a language model. It understands languages. Math is a language. Coding is a language. These are languages in the same way that English is. And that means that these artificial intelligences are very, very good at it. They're insanely good at it. And so you are going to see a lot of AI in the blockchain. You're going to see a lot of AI in everything. And so this is not just going to be unique to crypto. You're going to see AI get integrated into absolutely everything that you possibly can imagine. They're going to put AI in your fridge. They're going to put AI on your phone. They're going to put AI in your car. They're going to put AI anywhere they can put it. If they can find a place and it fits, they're putting it there. And in many ways, it almost is reminiscent of, or it's almost similar to the degree in which you're going to see blockchain technology appear in everything. It is a superior form. And so you're going to see blockchain technology get integrated into everything. You're going to see blockchain distributions for 3PL and for the shipping system, for moving products around the planet. You're going to see blockchains get integrated. And guess what? You're also going to see get integrated into them. It's going to be AI as well. The artificial intelligence is going to be managing the blockchains. 2026, you're going to hear a lot about it. And you're going to see AI continue to spread across your daily life. AI is a genie that is outside of its bottle in the same way that blockchain technology is. There's nothing they can do to stop this. All they can do is slow it down. And at this point in time, it does not look like any country around the world is happy with slowing it down. Yep. Blockchain bank accounts, blockchain voting, blockchain. Yeah, it's going to be that way. The same way that you're hearing about AI. It'll be AI customer service, AI this, AI that, AI this. And that's the same thing. It's going to be blockchain this and blockchain that and blockchain this. And they're going to work together. All right. Jumping to our next of the predictions for the year. Which ones have I missed at this point in time? All right. We've done our Clarity Act. Tokenized real world assets going to grow crazy. Tokenized treasuries going to go crazy. Utility tokens, very much. We're going to see the beginning of, and really, I think, the heyday of judging cryptocurrencies like companies. And so we've covered that one. Self-custody is going to become a debate between people. And I really, on this one, I don't know if so much it's going to be a debate. It's going to be an event throughout this year that some of us are going to be very concerned about. And I think a lot of other folks are going to ignore. But it is going to be that decision. Do we see folks move towards self-custody, or do these offers like Citibank, is this where you see the users going? Do users choose to have someone else be the custody of their crypto, or do users choose to be self-custodians of their crypto? 2026 is going to be the year for that one. AI and crypto are going to merge to a huge degree. We're going to see more of a split between Bitcoin and the other cryptocurrencies. Here we go. These are, you've got my last two predictions of the year that I tried to miss out on. Altcoin cycles. I strongly believe that altcoin cycles, because of this utility conversation we had earlier, altcoin cycles are still going to exist. I strongly believe they're going to be shorter, because of the maturity of the market, and they're going to be far more brutal for the utilities, for the altcoins that aren't keeping up. And so I do believe that we're still going to see it, because 2026, we're going to see a lot of these smaller tokens that have been building towards this economy are going to suddenly see a major boom. Chainlink, cryptos like that are going to see a major boom. And we're going to have an altcoin cycle that is going to be very focused on utility-based altcoins. And I do believe that's going to start to become the trend. We're going to see altcoin booms that are more based upon a specific sector, like what we've been seeing at the end of 2025, because we saw this already. And I think this is going to be more of the trend, because while this whole market was doing all of this, privacy cryptos were killing it. And so we saw this essentially. We saw this already start to happen throughout 2025. Oh, I'm looking up the wrong one, I believe, right there. Yes. Actually, the right one. And so we saw privacy cryptos boom throughout this cycle. And I think that this is going to become more of the case with altcoins. You're not going to see an altcoin market where just all the altcoins are all green and Bitcoin's just sitting stable. I don't think you're going to see that near as often. When you do see it, I believe it's going to be short-lived. What you're more likely going to start seeing is something like that, where it's going to say, okay, let's break this down to categories, which this is also, guys, for those that haven't seen this on CoinGecko or something, this is very, very helpful little tool to go to, because you can switch right here between all the cryptos, 1 through 100, and categories of cryptos. I think what you're going to start seeing is you're going to start seeing these categories go through boom and bust cycles, where you're going to see the different ones like, okay, we're going to see decentralized finance. And so you're then going to have an altcoin cycle where DeFi is in the headlines, and we're going to see all of these cryptos booming. Or same idea, we're going to see liquid staking is going to be booming, and you're going to see all of these cryptos booming. I very much think that we're going to start seeing altcoin cycles go from being altcoin market cycles to being altcoin sector cycles throughout the year of 2026. Very much so, because the market is maturing, and we are going to be judging projects based off of their financials. Do they make money? And if they don't make money, do they have a plan to make money? Things like that. All right. For the last one, and this is one that is going to be very, very subtle, and folks aren't going to notice it. You're going to start having things that are going to be conducted on a blockchain without you noticing it. And so examples of this, and some of the ones, in my opinion, that are probably going to start happening very, very soon, are going to be the ones that folks can't see. And things like that are going to be like when you get your paycheck. When you get your paycheck, and you're going through payroll, and so it's payroll software and everything of that nature, that payroll system is actually going to be moving stable coins around. Rather than moving around fiat, it's going to be moving stable coins around. And so you're still just going to get money in your bank account. You got paid on Friday, you're going to go, you're going to hand them that check, or you got direct deposit, and how Wells Fargo and the bank is going to move the money around is going to be on a blockchain. They're going to move stable coins around because they can move them around for free. If they had to move the money, it cost money. And so they're going to start doing that. They're going to start moving around money in the background where we can't see it via blockchains, via stable coins. Other ways that this will start to occur without you really noticing it will be like remittances. Things like when you're sending money out of country, Western Union types and things of that nature. These are going to start quietly moving over to a blockchain. It counters the whole issue of exchanging of currencies. It's instantaneous. It's cheaper. It avoids sanctions and silliness depending upon where it's going and stuff of that nature. You're going to see these little quiet applications just start sneaking their way in. You're going to see companies that suddenly have a you can pay in stablecoin option. Just suddenly. It'll just be there. Oh, if you want to pay in USDC, you can. You're going to have loyalty programs. And so Walmart and Amazon and places like this, they're going to start providing these loyalty points. Those loyalty points are going to start moving over to a blockchain system. These are going to be the quiet ones. The things that I think are going to occur throughout 2026 that they're going to happen, but people aren't really going to notice it. It's just going to be happening. There's just going to be more. And you're going to see it occur without anyone noticing. And it's going to be in those ways that are subtle. It's going to be in the background because those are the things that they can put into effect, that they can be testing, and that aren't going to really change how you go about your daily life. It'll just be when you go to the ATM and you swipe to pull cash out, the bank is going to be handling that transaction via a stablecoin. And that absolutely is going to be a part of 2026. And so I think that actually throws all of my major little trends and predictions out there. The only other things that I would throw in for the year, at least in terms of the context of this video, would be the legislation. So I talked about as my first prediction essentially being we're going to see the Clarity Act. Okay. I do strongly believe the Clarity Act will pass in the first quarter. I very much think that it is going to be on Trump's desk in February. There is bipartisan support for it. And there's also now the whole fact that crypto has been so embraced by Trump. He's going to want to defend it. And if this Clarity Act pushes for too long, it is going to sour the goodwill that Trump has garnered with cryptocurrency investors. And so I strongly believe that Trump is going to be pushing hard on getting the Clarity Act done in the first quarter. I believe that bipartisan lawmakers are going to be pushing hard on getting it done in the first quarter because they have got a vested interest in it happening quickly. And we're going to see Ethereum and Solana and other cryptos continue to struggle if we see uncertainty around it. But there are other bills. And so the Clarity Act is the major one that, is currently on the agenda. Ultimately, after that, there are still more things that we need to see or would like to see. And so there are bills like the Deploying American Blockchains Act. Deploying American Blockchains Act is set to come back up in terms of conversation in the end or near the end of the first quarter of 2026. This would be very important for the overall building of blockchain infrastructure in the United States. Other examples of things like this would be the Law Enforcement Act that was just recently propositioned. I expect to see law enforcement legislation moving forward in 2026. I expect to see investment in blockchain infrastructure from the federal government in 2026. And ultimately, it is still very possible that we see the Bitcoin Act pass in 2026. And so I have intentionally not talked about that part of that in this until now. It is essentially the creme de la creme. It is the bee's knees, the golden apple, the grand poobah, whatever you throw it at. The number one biggest slam dunk winner is the Bitcoin Act. And when I say that, I am referencing the Bitcoin Act of 2024 that was brought forth by Senator Cynthia Lummis. It was then reinstated as the Bitcoin Act of 2025. And since then, It has now been brought as the Bitcoin Act of 2026. This bill will someday pass. At least it needs to someday pass. And so the golden goose, guys, for the year of 2026 is the Bitcoin Act. That is the golden goose, in my opinion. That will be that's the plus size lady singing. That's it. And it is very, very possible for us to see the Bitcoin Act pass in 2026, but it is going to be entirely contingent upon these other pieces of legislation passing. The Clarity Act has to pass. Law enforcement acts have to pass. Further stablecoin clarification acts have to pass. The United States government really needs to start investing in infrastructure in order to capitalize on the Bitcoin Act passing. There's a lot that needs to happen. And so I very much think we're going to be keeping up with the trajectory of the Bitcoin Act. We're going to be able to tell how fast are we moving through these other bills. We can't put the cart before the horse. And so essentially, we are trying to get horses right now. The cart is the Bitcoin Act. We can't move the cart until all this other legislation is put into place. And so we have very much a vested interest as crypto holders and as just as global citizens in keeping up with this process. Because yes, we are marching towards a final goal of the Bitcoin Act, but we can't jump to it. If we put the Bitcoin Act into effect right now and we revalued the Federal Reserve Bank's gold and we moved over to a digital economy, it would fail. We do not have everything set up for it to work. It needs a framework. We need laws. There need to be rules. And so that is going to be a very important part of the year. And a lot of the overall predictions for the year are going to be contingent upon it happening. And ultimately, it's going to be tough because of midterms. And so we really, really, really need the first quarter of 2026. We need to see a lot of movement because we're probably going to have a major slowdown that's going to occur as we get later into the year. We're going to have politicians more focused on campaigning and talking crap than they are on trying to get anything done. And so I'm very much looking forward to first quarter. Hopefully, we have gotten through as many of these bills as possible. If that does not happen, then I think we can pretty much throw a giant wrench in the predictions for 2026 because of the midterms and because of the necessity of a lot of this legislation for us to move forward. All right. With that one, though, guys, let me answer a few questions and see what everyone thought of that one. I believe that pretty much brings them all together. I'll throw one last one before I go to answering folks' questions. XRP price prediction for 2026. If Bitcoin hits $250,000, XRP could surge to $20 to $30 per coin in 2026 if Bitcoin hits $250,000, as analyst Austin Hilton expects capital to rotate into major altcoins. Despite a weak altcoin market, XRP showed resilience in 2025, backed by Ripple's acquisitions, institutional interest, and regulatory clarity. I went around and found a few different predictions and everything else. I'm not a big fan of trying to throw out exact numbers and things of that nature, but I do like contingent predictions because they seem a little bit more grounded. And so this one's contingent upon Bitcoin doing particularly well in the year of 2026. I very much think that it's possible to have $20 XRP by the end of the year. It really is going to come down to how they perform. We need the government to perform their job, and we need for crypto companies to start acting like companies. And if they do that and they become successful companies, I think we're going to very, very easily see things like $20 XRP and things of that nature. And so with that one, I am going to start answering some questions. We went super long today, an hour and 20 minutes, but it was because it was an exciting one, and there's so much to think about. There's so much to think about on this one. All right. Franco's got a prediction: 2 major banks collapsing because of the silver contracts and taking over to save the people's accounts. Hey, Franco, it seems very, very possible for 2026. Absolutely does. Reno Hightower, a lot of investors are looking for action, to be honest. A lot are. And with this sudden and really dramatic increase in institutional funds that we've seen in 2024 and 2025, it's also changed the mindset of the average investor. They're very, very, very action-minded. They're on the hook. They're responsible. They've got to make this thing make money. A retail investor is more likely to say, I know where this is going. I have faith. I believe. Whereas the guy running a hedge fund and things of that nature, they're far more likely to be actively managing, rotating funds. And there are a lot of those guys right now who do. They need to see some action. All right. Gary 7, I would imagine that more investors will invest in companies that move crypto around. Absolutely. Absolutely. I think we're going to start seeing, Gary, folks, break it down and go, why am I investing in this company? Because they do this. They just do this, and they're great at it. They're the best at it, and they're making money doing it. And yet, there will be companies that just move crypto. It's the entire company's job. It's what they do. They move crypto. There are already crypto clearinghouses and things like that, where you can have essentially escrow style accounts. We're going to see more and more and more of these things happen. There's going to be companies that are going to focus on just facilitating cryptocurrency transactions between companies. Some of these companies that are going to be providing services in the crypto and blockchain industries, they won't actually have a crypto or a blockchain. They'll just be a company that provides services to blockchain and crypto companies. It's going to be a huge boom. There's going to be a lot of brand new entrepreneurs that are going to become multimillionaires and billionaires because they're going to be providing the solutions and the services needed for the new economy. All right. Susan Liu, who would be resistant of passing the Clarity Act? Those in the government that are very, very much still focused on the idea of a central bank digital currency. Remember, it was an executive order that Trump put out that banned CBDCs. This has not been codified in law. And so there is still very much a contingent. The Elizabeth Warrens and the Cory Bookers and those of the political system, they are still trying to push for central bank digital currencies, and they're probably not going to stop. And what they're definitely not going to do is stop until this executive order becomes more than just an executive order. We really do need to have the federal government actually pass a law banning the creation of a central bank digital currency. That would be another very exciting one for the year of 2026. Absolutely. Musical Lady, just look at the actions alone. With Trump and Ripple Labs, XRP Ripple Labs just got conditional approval, National Bank, Trust Bank in December 2025 with OCC. Ripple Labs wouldn't do that without Trump's support. Absolutely. And so, yes, we are. I'm very excited for Ripple's 2026. I'm very, very excited for Ripple's 2026. And we need them to keep moving forth at this pace or faster. We need more. We got RLUSD in 2025. We got a lot in 2025. We got ETFs. We got RLUSD. We got tokenized U.S. treasuries. We got the partnership and the expansion of the Flare sidechain. We got, of course, all of the major announcements coming out from the collaboration of Brad Garlinghouse with the Trump administration. We got a buttload. We need that to continue in 2026 because the game is cranking up. Ethereum is set to launch ZK and multiple transaction approval, simultaneous transaction approval. That could bring Ethereum to as fast, if not faster, than XRP's ledger. It is the arms race now. And the arms race, I believe that the shot was fired to initiate the arms race in blockchain essentially when Trump won the office. But 2026 is going to be very much where the world hears that shot fired. It's going to be an arms race. The fastest, the best, provides the best solution. Where's it based in? Is it American run? Is it Saudi run? Is it Chinese run? It's going to get competitive, real competitive. And luckily, Musical Lady, XRP is sitting in a very strong position when it comes down to that one. Susan Lee, what does the Bitcoin Act do? Creates gold-backed money. Okay, Susan Lee. I've done some shows on this, but it was a long time ago. I need to do another one, probably over on Original Mark Z, or do a few more specials on it. The Bitcoin Act calls for the creation of a Bitcoin Treasury Reserve, or a digital currency reserve in the United States. And that is where most people quit reading. That's not actually what it does. It does that, yes. Its name is the Bitcoin Act. It creates a Bitcoin Treasury Reserve for the United States federal government. It also creates a framework for all the states to create their own digital treasuries. That's all great. Those are very important little parts of it. It creates a decentralized infrastructure for holding digital currencies in the United States. Awesome. But where it gets really, really interesting, Susan, is when you keep reading. What the act actually calls for is it calls for the removal of all gold from Federal Reserve branch banks. It calls for the remittance of all gold in all Federal Reserve banks back to the United States Treasury. It then explicitly states that the United States Treasury will revalue the Federal Reserve's gold from the $42 that the Federal Reserve banks currently value it at to its actual market value. Now, take that bill into context of what's going on in the precious metal markets. You're watching gold skyrocket. You're watching silver skyrocket. Well, the Bitcoin Act lays it out clear as day what they're going to do. We're going to create a digital infrastructure for digital assets. We are going to remove all the gold from the Federal Reserve banks. The Federal Reserve banks are then going to be forced by the United States Treasury to remit the difference between the values. And so remember, Federal Reserve banks value that gold they hold at $42 per troy ounce. So it's actually bigger than a normal ounce. It's like 31 grams or something, like 31 point something. But they value it at $42 an ounce. But what's a troy ounce right now? I mean, if you just looked at the current one, thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. The Federal Reserve banks have to pay the U.S. Treasury the difference. That would bankrupt the Federal Reserve banks. And so, in one fell swoop, the Bitcoin Act revalues the precious metal reserves, specifically calling out gold, the gold reserves of the United States government. It bankrupts the Federal Reserve banks, and it creates the digital currency infrastructure for the new financial system. And so the Bitcoin Act, Susan Lee, is the big one. It's the big one. And for anyone who wants to verify what I'm saying, you can look up the Bitcoin Act. This is not a conspiracy. This is not Zester's opinion. This is not I heard it from someone or a contact. This is literally the conversation that was publicly held on the floor of the House of Representatives and the floor of the Senate. This is fact. That is what the bill says. And that bill is supported by Donald J. Trump. He endorsed that bill at the Bitcoin conference in July of 2024 and said that it was the future. And so it is the big one. It is the big one, Susan. It is far more than just Bitcoin. In all honesty, it is the reset of the global economy. It is the reset of the global economy. And when we do this, we will erase the United States debt in one fell swoop. We will erase the debt, and I strongly believe that we are doing this in correlation with the stable coins, and that's why you're hearing from Russian ministers and why you're hearing from central banks around the world. The United States is up to some shenanigans. They keep trying to warn everyone, and they've told everyone what we're doing. We are flooding the world with stable coins, US-backed stable coins. We are devaluing the value of the US dollar while at the same time increasing the value of United States asset holdings. We are going to, in one fell swoop, pay off our entire debt and reset our economy backed by assets. And we've honestly laid it out. And so at this point, I really don't have too much of a question of what we're doing. We know what we're doing. The government knows what it's doing. Is it a good idea? Is it the right idea? Is it going to work out? Those, in my opinion, are all the better questions. All of the better questions. And so that is the one that I'm looking forward to the most, but it is a process. We cannot just jump to the Bitcoin Act. As much fun as that sounds, hey, everybody, let's reset the economy. Let's pay off our debt. Let's revalue gold. Let's do all of it in one fell swoop. That all is where we want to be, but we cannot be there until a new system is in existence, in place to replace the old system. We can't burn down our house before we built a new house. And right now, we have all the materials to build a house. We've got all of the everything. We just haven't gotten flipping permits. And so essentially, the government needs to give us the framework so that the new financial system, that house, can be stood up. And it can't without all of these other steps. I mean, it could, but it wouldn't be a good thing. It would be a very bad thing, essentially, if we went ahead and we moved over to the new financial system before it exists. And so, yes, very much in that case. Why sounds like the RV is linked. To me, it is the Great Reset is the great financial change. It is the great financial change. It is. And what blockchain technology, and think about it. We've been talking about it the whole episode, essentially, with the predictions. We've been talking about a system that is backed by real world assets, by gold backing currency, by real world assets and tokenization being a major push of the year, by your dollar holding value once again. That is being brought about by the blockchain. That is what we've been waiting for. What was the Great Reset, the new system, the new financial system? It was a move back to an asset-backed economy. It was a move back to tangible, pegged, fundamental value to currency. Pretty much everything that had been laid out as being a part of this new financial system, if you take it and you place it into the context of blockchain technology, there you go. It's everything that everybody's been asking for. It's everything that we've been being told for a very long time was coming to fruition. It's all of it. It came in a package that people didn't expect, but it came nonetheless. It came nonetheless. All right. Gary 7, how will all this work to create stimulus checks or tariff checks, etc.? Gary 7, and this is absolutely, this is me. This is a Zester prediction. I strongly believe that what will actually occur is that it will occur at the passing of the Bitcoin Act, because where did that Federal Reserve gold come from? And so for the history lovers out there, where did that Federal Reserve gold come from? If it still exists, if it's still there, yes. Lots of questions, lots of things there, that we would need solutions for. But a lot of that gold came from World War II. It came from the Great Depression. A lot of the gold is our gold. It was seized from the United States citizens as a matter of paying for the war efforts. And it is, if you really go back to it, that was the beginning of the downfall of the economic system. And very much so. And so I think that if there is the perfect time, essentially, I think it would be the recompensation, essentially, of the American people. And it would occur at the revaluation of the Federal Reserve's gold, because that is our gold. Ultimately, it's ours. Now, that doesn't mean that everyone's going to get a buttload, but I think that that is one of the very, very logical points in this entire process, where essentially, if we're going to right the wrongs, if we're going to right the economic system and place it back on solid foundation, then we would have to address some of the fundamental reasons of how it got there, and some of the fundamental crimes that were committed against the world's people, against the people, especially of the United States. And so, for me, Gary Seven, I think that's where we stand the best chance of seeing something. I think so. Susan Lee, can we buy them? Can we buy those gold ounces at the $42 price? See, unfortunately, we cannot. Unfortunately, we cannot on that front. And so, Franco, the reason that I think it's around the reason that I think it's actually around the gold is because of just that. Because for all acquiring of new funds, the House of Representatives is the purse of the American people. It is. That's how it was meant to be. That's how the founding fathers set it out. But the Bitcoin Act calls for these funds going to the U.S. Treasury. And so, Franco, I think that's the reason that that's the moment that it can be paid. Because it's the U.S. Treasury making the payment. And so that means that this should not have to go through the House of Representatives. When that gold is revalued and the new valuation is placed upon it, at that point in time, those funds should be at the direct discretion of the United States executive branch. Trump should be able to allocate those funds as he sees fit at that point in time. And so that's the reason, because yes, we're not going to get there if it's legislation, I don't think. But that's where that money pot would come from. That's where that's where the leprechaun's gold pot would come from in order to be able to provide something like that to the American people. But in all honesty, there could be other ways of skinning that cat, I suppose you could say. And whether we end up receiving the money or not, I would say that the American people are definitely owed that money. But I'm far more concerned about the American people being given a future back than they are being given back some kind of a solution for a wrong of the past. And so, for me, the most important thing is that this new system is created in a way that it allows for the future generations of Americans and for the current generations of Americans to work their own way into their own success. And so, I'm not going to be, I agree, Franco, I'm not going to be holding my breath for money coming out of this from the federal government. But I do see that the revaluation of gold, because of the fact and how they've set it up, how it's going to work, I find that as being the biggest moment where it's possible. I see that being that it's possible. We could do it type deal. But even then, folks are going to be angry because one guy is going to say, well, my great-great-grandfather, he had 10 pounds of gold that the U.S. government took from him back in 1933. I deserve this. There's really no way. It's like the whole reparations thing. It's just not possible. You cannot hold the present accountable for the past. And so there's a lot of different ways to look at it. I do see that as being the opportunity, but there's so many things that could derail that. I'm more excited about just having a system that allows for Americans to actually build and have a future. Absolutely. Because there are generations of Americans that have never had an opportunity to make a dime or get ahead or get anything. Ultimately, all they need is they just need for this system to stop being skewed against them. And so if we could just right the scales of justice in this moment, I'd be okay without them giving me, a boost. I'd be okay with it. I'd be okay with it. If they could right the scales for everyone, I think that the societal benefit would benefit me more than the dollars. But maybe that one's personal, and maybe that's also coming from the context of of sitting there and looking at friends and family and people of the generation that's all they want. That's what they're desperate for. They're not desperate for anything to show up. They don't care about a new financial system. They don't care about anything. All they care about is actually having a chance at achieving that American dream that they were told existed. All right, though. Grace, is Bitcoin going away? I don't believe so. I don't believe that Bitcoin is going to go away. I think, Grace, that you're going to see that this year and the coming years is going to be the change of the focus being on Bitcoin. Bitcoin, though, I believe will stay. But I do think you're going to start seeing more of a focus on the other cryptos. And they're not going to have to just be like Bitcoin. It'll be like, we're going to have a conversation about Ethereum. And it's Ethereum on its own, not in the context of Bitcoin. All right. Franco, I thought it was interesting that Trump said after the passing of the BBB that he doesn't need Congress for the next 4 years. That one was very, very interesting. I think we've got a few more things that he does need him for, but there's also the possibility that there's a shortcut. Susan Lee agreed. We have to help others let go of the past. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that's going to be one of those, it's going to be one of those times where everybody is going to have to essentially let go of some of these things. Like, what are you going to do? It's the same degree of silliness that we see in the idea of tearing down statues or of removing names from buildings, somehow trying to punish someone who does not even exist on this ethereal plane anymore. We need that to end. And I have to say that's probably going to be, I'm going to be a part of it. There's going to be things that we're going to have to let go of. We're just going to have to let go of it because there's just no way we can rectify it. Unfortunately, there are some times where it's a lot like toothpaste and you can't put toothpaste back in the tube. Robbie Buck, our government won't give us squat. Buy crypto and silver to protect yourselves. Absolutely. Absolutely. Pamela, forgiving is easier than building back trust, in my opinion. Yes. Yep. And also at a certain point, the forgiveness is not it's not for the sake of the government. It's for the sake of our own mental health, I believe, at a certain point. But I don't think that we're going to have to go without justice in all of this. We're going to get justice, but ultimately there are some things that just can't be made right. And I think those are going to be unpleasant things that everyone's going to have to swallow throughout it. All right, though, guys, we've gone 1 hour and 43. It's been a long one today. I had a lot of fun chatting about it, though. I'm certain we could have this conversation for 10 hours straight, and there would still be something that we hadn't discussed yet or we hadn't really fleshed out. But we're going to get to do that throughout the entire year. And so thank you guys so much for joining me today. I hope everyone is having an amazing start to the new year. I'm very much looking forward to it. There's going to be a lot of changes, I think, on all around. And so I'm excited. I hope you guys are as well. Love you all. I will be back on Monday at 11:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we're going to start laying out our plans for the year. Today we talked about things that are outside of our control, things that are just probably going to happen. On Monday, what I want to talk about is the things that we're going to do. At least the things I'm going to do is what I'm going to talk about. And maybe y'all can join in with me if you like the ideas. But that's what I'm going to lay out. So Monday is going to not be what is going to happen. It's going to be, what is Zester going to make happen in the world in 2026 on the crypto side, with a lot of that focused on my plans, setting goals for what I want to accomplish in terms of cryptocurrency, and not just cryptocurrency, but overall wealth management, generation and management of wealth. I think that 2026 is the year to make certain that all of those ducks are in the rows, and are walking in the right direction. And so that's going to be the plan on Monday. I hope y'all join me for it. Y'all might have some great ideas, so come with them and come with y'all's plans for 2026 and your goals. We'll discuss them and we'll see how they all line up. And so, all right, guys, once again, love you. I'm going to get out of here now. Bye there.